Welcome back to Divided We Stand. Joe is sending me a message right now. He says, there's your stupid countdown. Joe, that countdown is my favorite part of the show. I'm calling you out right now because I love that countdown.
Blame
that
you.
countdown helps me sleep at night. I love that countdown.
Nothing like a good countdown to start off a show. Last week,
really
we went straight to the open, and Victoria was a little flustered.
I really was. I was like, oh, I'm going to need that 30 seconds, especially when I first heard, oh my God, I can't even talk right now. I'm thinking about not having the countdown. Anyways, so we're going to get started off by talking about tomorrow in Georgia. They're going to be voting, basically deciding if everybody's vote was invalid. It makes absolutely no sense why we're even having this. But we're going to be voting on it tomorrow. We'll find out. It's going to be certified on Wednesday. I think that it's honestly kind of just absolute clownery because it's kind of just based on nothing. What do you guys think about that?
Well, look, we're borderline on all-out chaos here. This is how the Roman Empire fell, Rob. This is like crazy stuff that these guys are doing. I think roughly a dozen Republican senators and a bunch of clowns in the House are going to object. And look, Vice President Pence says that he will hear their objections, and that's as far as he's going to take it. In all likelihood, at least, that's what we're to understand. When faced with that lawsuit a few weeks ago, where they wanted him to intervene, he told the judge, like, that's got nothing to do with me. I'm not doing that. He's going to let them make their objections, and then he's going to certify the vote and congratulate Joe Biden, and we can be done with this. I think, though, I'm very concerned about the fact that this is happening. And that, sadly, Senators Hawley and Cruz are constitutional lawyers. I mean, those two guys know full well what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And Ted Cruz in particular, obviously, we know how he really feels about Donald Trump. You know, he called him a sociopath and said he's not capable of telling the truth.
Ted Cruz is Trump's #1 dick sucker.
Well, he is now, but before
we used to be afraid of Ted Cruz. We never used to think that this was a possibility. We used to be like, let's watch out for Ted up in here.
But here's what I'm concerned about. There's a few things that are. Why is Ted Cruz all in on Trump? Because it doesn't make any sense. Same thing with Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham actually said Donald Trump would be the destruction of the Republican Party in 2016 when he dropped out of the race against Donald Trump.
And that was probably the smartest thing Lindsey Graham has said.
Yeah. Extremely accurate thing he said as well. But so here's where I mean, the Republicans are in a weird spot because you're undermining the Constitution. And I understand that your most ardent supporters are going to be like, oh, it's good. We should. Because, you know, you didn't want Joe Biden to be president and socialism and all that. They're scared. They're just really, I mean, I've had conversations, you guys, all week with Republican friends of mine. And what I find I'm doing over and over again is trying to reassure them that Joe Biden is not about to usher in an era of socialism where they're going to have to give away all their stuff. And I think they really, truly believe that. I mean, that was really the messaging coming pretty hard on the right. And so then the other concern they quickly, look, I know Biden's not going to be there long, 6 months, he's going to be out. And everybody knows Kamala Harris is, really, really liberal. No, neither one of them is really, really liberal.
No,
actually, they're both shockingly not super progressive at all. And I mean, I would say other than gay rights and abortion, I don't know that you would really say that they're liberal left.
Yeah, but they haven't
at all.
Joe Biden, especially, he hasn't even always been that way. Like, this is a very new thing for us.
Yeah, for everybody, especially the past 2 years. Even you, like Joe just said, Kamala Harris, that's not her true, like, not to say like a liberal or leftist background, but she has very conservative mindsets and opinions on a lot of things. Hell, even as a DA, like look at her record. Her record is has a very conservative tint to it.
But, yeah, I think at this point everybody's kind of just ignoring all of that, and it's better than what we've got going on right now. I mean, this is absolutely insane. I also kind of just wanted to talk about, just real quick, I know that we're going to kind of touch on it, but like there was an hour-long call that was released that literally admits all of this, like literally everything, and people still won't even have a conversation about it. They'll listen to the entire thing and then not have a conversation about it, and it blows my mind.
So 2 House Democrats have actually asked the FBI to open up a criminal investigation. I mean, what the president did is very similar to what he did with Ukraine, where it's on tape, him literally asking for them to find 12,000 votes to give him the state because, as he put it, we won the state. Except for that, they've counted the votes and certified them now 3 times.
And they all said throughout that whole call, I listened to the whole call this morning, they're all like, no, Mr. President, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. And everything that he said, he had no justification and no proof, anything. Like, he literally just kept spinning the wheel, the hamster wheel, with the same sentiment, the same stuff for an hour long. Not that, and then what did Chris say? We're something about were things that bad under Obama.
Yeah.
Chris, you voted for Trump. You can't speak other than apologize. That's it. That's the only thing we want to hear out of any conservative's mouth is, I'm sorry for fucking up our country and allowing this idiot to even have the mindset that he deserves to be president. So, yes, you're correct. They weren't this bad under Obama, but you guys placed him here, and you guys try to place him here again. So apologies need to be in order. But anyways, that's it.
Paul Ryan, former head of the Republican Party, and the guy who I thought really was the future of the party, has lambasted Trump and this group of treasonous Republican senators in attempting to overturn the will of 81 million people because they represent 74 million that don't like it. And I mean, this is where we're at as a country. This is all on Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
The idea that they're even going to float this idea, it's like we have to live in this idiotic alternate universe where you have to placate Donald Trump so that he doesn't feel bad about stuff. I mean, I think every single one of those senators and Congress people should face some sort of treason charge. I agree. This is literally an attempted overthrow of the government, and I think something needs to be done about this. I mean, it's really sad that this is the hill that the Republicans have decided to die on. This piece of shit. I don't get it.
I think it's really concerning, especially because this happening, especially at such a great scale, like it's not like it could get any less grandiose than this. This is the president. Like it doesn't get any higher degree. There's no obligation. There's no job that's any higher than the president. So him doing this and having this behavior, it just opens up the door of possibility for this to potentially happen again. Before Donald Trump, I don't think anybody would have imagined of sitting up in the White House and pulling half of the shit that he does. But now that he has, I feel like it just opens up a window for the Oprahs and the Ellen DeGenereses and all of the other reality stars who feel like they may have a potential to be the president, maybe in 2050, in 2030, in something. You know what I'm saying? I feel like this opens up such a door for clownery. Am I wrong?
I'm not going to say you're wrong. I just think that shit over with. I think this has really opened up the door and opened up the eyes of America, no matter what side you're on. Like, yeah, we can't allow this kind of ignorance to go down again. Like, look at this bozo. Like,
I hope not. I mean, we say that we can't, but clearly there is a great part of the American population who thinks that this is just fine, especially being after seeing maybe not as much as it was but when it like the election results had just come out, how it was like 49 to 51. But like now, I mean, obviously it's probably a little bit more slim, but you will see there is still a great deal of people who just don't care about the facts, and they have alternative facts, and we just need to cut it out with all of them.
I don't want to disagree with you, but I find that the rank and file Republican, your everyday Republican, I'm getting from them, they know this is nonsense. Most of them kind of think this is a publicity stunt, that this is just, we're going to be big crybabies until the bitter end. Chris just chimed in, as a Republican, Trump's been embarrassing us all since November. I think the only people that are really placating the president are his allies, people like Marsha Blackburn and again, Hawley and Cruz and some of these knuckleheads who are, I think, trying to appease the people who are voting in Georgia tomorrow. That the idea is we stand with the president in hopes, because the other thing they could have done, and this would have been so much more appreciated and probably had drastically better results, would have been to bump the stimulus checks up to $2,000 per person. I don't know why they didn't do it before November 4th. I'm thankful they didn't, because I think Donald Trump might actually have won the election if the Republicans had been able to get it together. Unfortunately, they didn't. And I know a lot of people weren't really happy with that, the fact that they didn't have a stimulus passed. And I know even less people are happy that Mitch McConnell sat on this and then decided to like throw scraps to the peasants. That doesn't go over well with people. So the idea that these massive amounts of Republicans, and I'll tell you, I think the independents in Georgia will certainly carry the day. I can't imagine any true independent. And it's funny that because I had a conversation with a guy who earlier this week I was arguing with him about Donald Trump, and he said, for the record,
you gotta stop doing that, Joe.
I have to. I will talk to each and every one of these fools until I straighten them out. He said to me, look, for the record, I'm not a Trump supporter. I said, dude, you defend everything he says and does.
Dude, you're literally wearing a MAGA hat.
None of the points you're making sound like an independent thinker. It sounds like an idiot regurgitating garbage that he heard Ben Shapiro say. And if that's mostly what you're doing, well, Ben Shapiro's a fucking idiot. You're not getting good information.
That's what that hour phone call sounded like.
That's exactly what it sounded like.
Him and Ben Shapiro had coffee in the morning.
I'm happy to have this conversation with anybody who needs to hear it. I can explain to you that the socialism isn't coming, that they're not going to literally have a vote. They're not going to have a Democratic vote where they nominate socialism as our new way of life. I mean, the things that they believe on the right now are so unbelievably far-fetched that it's hard to imagine that there's people doing shows right now on YouTube to conservative audiences that are saying such idiotically outrageous things, and the people are like, sounds about right. Come on, people.
Those are the same bozos that's on what we just say. What app is that? That I got?
Oh, Clubhouse.
Not Clubhouse. Parler.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse is actually fun.
That's on the down low.
Parler's a circle jerk for conservatives.
Yeah, and they hate it. I mean, they're like, you can't own the libs on here. Well, you can't own the libs on Facebook because you need facts on Facebook. You're dummy.
Like, you hate it, but I think that it's kind of funny. I think that we can all agree that we kind of get a kick out of the Parler app. Like, come on.
That's hilarious. Look, listen, I think it's unfortunate, really, that, I mean, most people right now, both sides, are living in a bubble. Like, you don't want to understand that 81 million people went left and 74 million went right. That's pretty split down the middle, people. So we can sit here and pretend like everybody on the right has to stop being a little bit racist and a little xenophobic and a little sexist. I think this is the best we're going to get. I think the best right now we can hope for is that they don't try to overturn the Constitution, because that seems to be their fallback option right now. And I got to be honest, it's kind of scary. Not to mention, the election happens on Tuesday. what happens if the two Democrats win on Tuesday and they vote to certify on Wednesday? How do you think that shit's going to go? All of a sudden, I would be a lot more concerned about what Mr. Pence is going to do.
Pence is trying to get so far away from fucking Trump, and he's shown that since the day of the election. The day the election started, the first general election or presidential election, it showed Pence is over him. Pence is ready just to sign whatever, congratulate, and get the fuck out of there. You think that Pence is trying to ruin his career? Pence still has a career in politics. Trump is over with.
I don't know about that. I hate Mike Pence. I've always hated Mike Pence more than
I've never been a fan either.
Trump.
But Pence actually has a better chance of coming back on the Republican ticket of 2024 versus other than Donald Trump Jr. and actually making a good run. But I'll take that save that take for later. Because I do have an inkling that Donald J. Trump Jr. will be trying to make a run in 2024.
Well, going back to the Ted Cruz thing, that's something that I was kind of thinking about was, obviously he's going to be running in 2024. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind about that. So
who's going to be running? Cruz? Cruz, it's a wrap for him. It's over for him.
You think so?
He can't run for president. He would not win. That would be that would be.
He's gearing up. I mean,
I feel like he's definitely going to run.
It's going to be like Bloomberg. That's it.
Do not. Well, hold on. Listen, he beat Beto O'Rourke. I mean, that's like
O'Rourke.
Super progressive. That was their guy for a while. That was their guy, and
they were trying to make Beto Obama. That's it. They were trying to make Beto Obama, and he
sure were. Yeah, and he certainly isn't in any way, shape, or form. But to me, look, Ted Cruz beating Beto when everybody was like, Texas is purple. No, Texas is still red. Nice Texas try, though. Texas. Yes, and it always will be. So, I mean, look, he's from a big state. I don't Dan Crenshaw me. I can't this guy. Listen, I respect anybody who serves in the military. Don't hide behind it and don't weaponize it.
Exactly.
I don't like the way that Dan Crenshaw weaponizes his service. I appreciate that you sacrificed. I appreciate if you've been injured. I mean, you've got my gratitude for life. And I've been very outspoken for 4 years about Walter Reed and the VA and all the things that we need to get that thing done. But just because you serve doesn't mean you get to hold it over other people. You just don't. You don't get to do that. And if you're going to do it, then don't serve.
Because I'll tell you right now, just because I can say that shit because I'm a vet. Just because you got a fucking injury don't mean that you were actually a good fucking soldier. You just happen to be at the wrong place, wrong time. Not saying that about Dan Crenshaw, but I'm just saying, just because you got a fucking injury and you end up on Wounded Warriors, or you end up in fucking Germany, or you end up at the VA or Walter Reed, doesn't mean that you're a good fucking soldier. So I'm sorry. I'll say that because I'm a vet, and if anybody wants to take that up with me, you know how to get at me. I
think that's kind of just exactly it. I think just all around, no matter what it is, if it's using an injury or using something that you've done like that, like, you know what I'm saying? If it's using anything like Donald Trump I'm a business mogul and I'm whatever, unless the reasoning for you wanting to be the president is you having the best interest for our country and wanting to do good things, let's cut it out with that. Let's stop doing it. Let's stop electing these people to be our president for the wrong reasons. Let's stop doing it.
Well, so again, right, what's the wrong reason? I mean, I know a lot of people like a guy like Dan Crenshaw because he's kind of like a tell it like it is guy. He's also rude, disrespectful, and divisive. I don't think those are the kind of leaders we want right now.
Right.
I don't think we want people that are out there that are still trying to stir shit up. We need people that are going to talk about like uniting and talk about like how we move forward as a country without trying to like take a shit on the Constitution, because that's not good for anybody. That's not good for this country. When Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan are like standing up and being the voice of reason in the Republican Party, we're all in trouble, because that means this thing's taken such a hard right turn that even the rightest of right guys are like, whoa, dude, slow down. We're not going to like overthrow the election. There's not a federal election system which is the other big issue. I mean, we have very individualized voting machines and voting systems in every single state. So when the states, that's why states certify their own elections. And if you're going to be some douchey douche and you're going to talk about states' rights, states' certified their votes, and you're like, well, fuck states' rights, throw that shit out. It doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. You got to be consistent, okay? Got to be consistent. We know that there was evidence in 2016 of Russian interference. Was there collusion? We think so. They couldn't prove it. Bob Mueller said if the president was innocent, I'd have said that. So that's pretty telling. 6 of his campaign staffers went to jail because, see, there was evidence. There were people who lied to FBI investigators, so they went to jail. 2020, no evidence. There's no evidence. The only evidence now we've seen of voter fraud is the president on the phone asking secretaries of state after the fact if they could change the vote totals. That's what massive voter fraud is. Trying to throw out 81 million votes. That's your massive voter fraud, people. Do you see it? That's what it is. Don't pretend that you love the Constitution and look at that shit and be like, well, he's just exhausting all his options. Fuck off. No, he's not. It's a fucking treasonous criminal. And if you support that, you are too.
But people won't even sit down and have that conversation. Because if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I think that anybody who genuinely believes anything that Trump is saying, listened to that phone call and did not understand a word of what he was saying.
It wasn't hard to either. Because he said the same shit over and over in like a loop. So,
I mean, it's absurd. I personally did not listen to the call in full. Did you guys sit there for the full hour and listen?
Oh, yeah. I brought my morning in with it. It was just, it was too appealing. I had to.
I did not listen to the whole thing. I listened to some parts of it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine. Well, this is the other thing. This is what cracks me up. You know, when he talked about the call with Ukraine, which he was impeached for.
Yes.
And he called it a perfect call. And I mean, right. I mean, so here's another argument I had with someone earlier in the week. I don't think that Donald Trump understands that most of the things he's doing are wrong and illegal.
Yeah.
I think Donald Trump truly thinks this is the game. This is how they play politics. He watched the Clintons. You know, this is another misnomer. A friend of mine said, look, the Clintons and the Bidens and the Obamas all got rich in office. How do they do that? And here I'm not surprised that conservatives didn't know this. Book deal to write their memoirs. I know you don't read books, but people pay a lot of money for people to write them.
Right.
And again, I don't mean to be insulting, but I know, look, conservatives aren't really big book people, but that's where they made their money. They didn't make it in Haiti, which I've heard repeated oft time. The Clintons made all their money in Haiti. I don't know what money there was to be made in Haiti while everything was destroyed, but whatever. The facts are there. I mean, and I specifically remember when Clinton left office in 2000, Random House gave him $13 million as an advance on a book, and I was like, for what? He got blown. That guy sucked. What did he do?
Shit, Obama's deal. Shit.
So I know where Bill Clinton made his money. I know exactly where he made his money.
Seriously. I mean,
and here's the other thing. They did investigate Hunter. They did investigate Burisma. They also investigated, oh my God, what was the oil thing? Uranium One. I mean, all of these things have been exhausted to death. Yeah, well, I don't care what you believe or not. You can believe anything you want. It makes you stupid.
Seriously, but all I ever hear.
Believing what you want that defies the facts makes you a stupid person. You're welcome to believe anything you want. You truly are.
But all they have is that Hillary in Benghazi and Hunter Biden. Like, that's it. That's all they've got. That's literally all they've got. And even in the entire impeachment trial, that's all Trump tried to do was take it away from himself. And it's literally disgusting. And could that be any more flat out? Could that be any more in front of your face? It couldn't.
I'm just so interested, and I see the comment that Keanu Mitchell made. Definitely being impeached again, but it gives us a good kind of insight with the whole call, right? Of how moronic this dude sounds, and like literally like unprofessional, and like this is a phone call that, like, not to say this is the exact same phone call, but like people have had to sit on phone calls the past 4 years with this guy sounding like this. Super unprofessional, with no kind of actual like building points, no actual anything relevant to say, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, what could he have actually accomplished? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it, just listening to the whole phone call, like he self-incriminated himself the whole time. I really wonder what like those phone calls to Russia and everything else had to say. Like there's like there, it really just. I don't want to. I was gonna say behoove me. I guess yeah. It really behooves me that like
behooved me.
Like I don't know. Like this is a fucking idiot,
liberal douchebag.
Like this dude's a fucking idiot. I'm like he literally was like, hey yeah, so I got the dope on me, and I'm going home with it at this time, and it's this much, and I'm gonna sell it to you for this much. Don't lock me up. Like, yeah, are you fucking serious?
Code?
And that's the thing. His code is horrible. He uses code like a mafia boss. Like, yeah, I don't like him. We know what to do. I don't like these votes. We know what to do. Go find me some other votes. I don't know how, but I'm sure if I knew how, I would do it this way, and you should do it this way.
I'm pretty sure I won. I'm about 12,000 votes short. And since I won, I'm sure you could find those, yeah? I mean, this isn't illegal. There's a lot of people that are pissed if you don't do it. This is what I did hear of the call. That whole nonsense. That you're right. That like strong arm mafia boss, like, hey, listen, I think 12,000 votes got to fall off the back of the truck. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, we can't. Sorry, people. We can't have a president like that. And listen, you know, for all the horrors that this man has brought over the last 4 years.
Yes.
And I mean, I would hope at this point that even the most staunchest Trump supporter has to be like, well, yes, he was a little chaotic and he was, well, kind of a dick.
No, they'll tell you that their taxes were better this year, and it does not matter. Their taxes were better this year, bitch. They got an extra $150. So you better shut your mouth.
Victoria, here's what I've gotten from literally 3 different people this week. They're like, listen, I never loved the Twitter stuff. I always wish he wasn't on Twitter. I'm like, is that number 1 on your list? I wish he wasn't on Twitter. Because if you think that the only damaging thing he did was on Twitter, then I don't think you quite understand it. Yeah. I've talked about this repeatedly, but for anybody who thinks a conservative court is a good thing, you're dead wrong. Liberal courts have given us all the rights we have in this country. Conservative courts, they defend religion and the religious ridiculousness that is trying to make its way into our schools that doesn't belong there. It's the gun thing's not happening. No one's taking the guns. Believe me, I won't let them. I won't let them take the guns.
Neither will they. They'll come find you before you find them and their guns.
I wish I wish that conservatives could understand that the liberals and the independents like guns too.
Especially nowadays, like honestly, like 20 years ago or even like 10 years ago, there was a lot more liberals that were like no more guns. But even like with it, oh my god, in the past like 2 years, I have definitely shifted a little bit on my stance on guns. I used to be very, very anti-gun, but like especially because of, you know, I grew up. I'm Gen Z. There's so many school shootings. I think it all kind of just depends on what.
Victoria,
I've got a 380 that you would love to shoot.
I would say, and I've explained this to so many of my Republican friends. Listen, you guys made a big mistake on the guns. You made a big mistake on the guns after Parkland when you were baiting that. What was that kid's name? Buster Ham or whatever his name was. Yeah. I can't even. You remember because little darling there, remember, and they were like, yeah, he was in Sandy Hook, but he had like a brown wig on, and like his dad was Chinese.
They're trying.
But you know, I said it then, and it bears repeating. I said it when it happened. These kids are going to turn 18. They're going to register, and you're going to get slaughtered.
And that's exactly what happened.
This cracked me up too. I had a lot of people that were like, there were so many more votes in this election. Doesn't that seem suspicious? Again, I was like, the kids in Parkland and all the kids at the school shootings have all grown up in the last couple of years. They turned 18, and because you failed them so miserably, they're liberals.
And I was about to say 18 is not a far number to attain. Like 18 comes very quickly, you stupid idiots.
Yeah, like when you're 17 and your best friends get shot at school, you turn 18 next year. And you register and you vote
life
Democrat.
doesn't really stop when that kind of stuff happens.
And I think about that, like, yeah, guess what? They're the 14-year-olds now. There's a bunch of 14-year-olds that's going to be 18 years old, or 15-year-olds that are going to be eligible to vote next 4 years. Like, they don't think about that. They're so in the now. They don't think like they're so in the past. I can't even say now because you know what I mean, they're just so stuck in the past and that like this way of life is going to continuously just be in benefit towards them, and it's not.
And I've genuinely heard people say that the statistics for school shootings have gone down. And let me remind you, it's because you idiot. People aren't in school right now. We're literally in the middle of a pandemic. I've genuinely heard that. Like, I've heard that from people like 2020, we were doing good, baby. No school shootings. Hey. Like, what are you talking about?
You know what? And when you said that, I was totally thinking something else, another reasoning in my head. And you're like, we're not in school. I'm like, holy shit. That's so true.
I'll be honest. When I first started talking about school shootings, I did think, wow, it has been a while, hasn't it?
Oh my God.
That's so sad that that's so sad that we're like, oh, school shootings. There hasn't been a while. And like, we're like, holy shit.
Because them boys home. That's why. Nobody.
Who knew that was the trick to ending school shootings? Just keep the kids home all the time.
God,
would have worked for me when I was in high school. Let me tell you that. I'll talk about that all the time. Would have loved this.
Not to like take it off of not politics, but like not to bring it, race into our culture. But like, I went to a couple schools where motherfuckers brought guns to school, and guess what? We were smart enough. Well, not to say we. I don't want to sit there and say like it was me, but like the people that brought guns to school, they were smart to like keep them away or like put them up somewhere outside, and you know what I mean, they were real low key with it. You get motherfuckers that's in the suburbs off and shit. Think about that.
Let me tell you that I went to a school in the suburb, and those kids, the kids from Hartford, I've seen some guns. I had friends from everywhere, but I've seen some guns, and like the kids that got caught. You're right, it's the ones that lived in my town. It wasn't the kids from Hartford.
We're not shooting nobody in school. We'll shoot you outside of school. We'll catch you outside of school. We'll catch you down the street.
Yeah, that was for the bus ride there.
Yeah, like
literally,
like it was for protection there. Exactly. When I'm in school, I'm good. Now you might get stabbed up.
I'm not even kidding.
That's crazy true. I just thought about that. Like literally every black person I ever had a problem with was like, I'll see you after class.
Exactly. We're not shooting up the school.
We're gonna do English first, and then I'm gonna take you outside and we're gonna fight.
My mom would have fucked me up if I disrupted a class to beat somebody's ass. What? Hell no. You can take that shit out
first. Seriously.
Exactly. Do that shit in study hall or do that shit outside. You know what I'm saying? Like it was never, I'll see you in the hallway. No, we're not airing this hallway out because guess what? We understand that there's innocent bystanders for the most part.
Or it's like you better go at least like down the street after school because it's like my mom can't find out and get that phone call that I beat the shit out of you in the hallway. Like go down the street.
I feel like kids grew up with so much respect for the authority of school and the principal that like bring a gun to school. What are you, crazy? And you're right. The only person who would have the audacity to do that is a rich white kid.
Exactly.
Can I do a story time right now?
Hey, it's your show. Do it.
One time when I was at 14, I was a freshman in high school. I was like in gym class. Yeah, so it was like 3 weeks ago. It was actually yesterday. I was in high school and I was in gym class, and all of a sudden we got that we had to go outside. We were like, what's going on right now? All of the teachers decided to tell us. The entire school was outside. We were all like packed onto the tennis court. It was the weirdest thing ever. All of the teachers told us that there was anthrax in the building. Anthrax in the building made absolutely no sense. So they told us that for about 2 hours. And then eventually the real story came out. Some kid brought an axe to school. an axe, and he was swinging that boy. I don't know if he was actually swinging that boy around, but he like put it in his locker because his friends were like, no balls, you will not bring an axe to school. And he was like, I brought an axe to school, and I brought this powder substance that I'm going to tell everybody is anthrax. Like, let me tell you, kids nowadays in the suburbs, they got it. They got balls. No respect for anybody. Crazy shit happens nowadays that just you could not even fathom, even like 10 years ago.
Damn, I remember we'll say Johnny for shits and giggles. I remember when Johnny brought in like a 12-inch blade. They just like paused the class for a little bit, escorted Johnny out, and then we had to go on about our day. What the fuck? Y'all got to get out of school? Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy for some powder cocaine and some fake powder cocaine as an axe. Y'all got.
He told everybody that it was anthrax. Like he was like, I'm literally, I'm insane, love. Like it was crazy.
Like, I grew up in an era where like we had a bomb threat like every week. So like,
oh yeah, we've had those too. Like the whole school has to leave because somebody wrote on the bathroom wall that they were gonna blow this joint up.
Like my ass and blowing up the whole school.
Joe, you look confused as if you did not experience these things.
No, well, it's weird. I mean, because I'm a little bit older than you guys, and we just didn't. It didn't happen that way. I mean, literally, it's funny. It's just Frank. It was like literally. I mean, I'll catch you after school. Like you would be scared shitless in school all day.
Wait until 3 o'clock. Like,
well, I mean, it wasn't the most conducive learning environment, but at least you knew that if you could somehow get the fuck out of there by 2:30 undetected, that you would live to see another day. Not bad.
Or if you lived in the basement until 5.
But we didn't do guns then. There was no guns. There was, there was a circle would form, and when one person would beat the other person's ass, and before death set in, they would pull the other guy off. Yeah. That was kind of how it went. Okay, he won. Now we're done here. We good? Yeah. Later. And that's how it went. I don't understand where this went off the rails, where people are like so fired up they have to kill people and stuff. I mean, seriously, dude. For what? You're not getting away with it. You're not getting away with murder.
No. Oh, absolutely not. And I have a perfect example about this.
It's impossible now.
I wanted to talk about this because it's absolutely horrible, and obviously I'm not gonna go into extreme detail, but in my town there was some kid that I went to school with, and he went to a fight, and it was over a girl, and it was between him. I believe he was 16, and I think he was 22 or 23-year-old man, and they met at a park that's literally 2 minutes away from my house and 2 minutes away from his house. I live in a town that is really, really small. It's literally a 2-mile radius either way, and they went there saying that they were going to fight, like what you were saying, and one of the kids brought a gun, and he shot the 16-year-old, and it's like, this is the kind of stuff that's happening nowadays. And why is that? Why is this normal? Why is this okay? And it's so unfortunate because it's like something like this happens, and then it's like, oh, it's so awful. It's so awful. And then we forget until the next one happens because it's just become so normalized.
Well, again, the Republican Party, the Family Values Party, doesn't teach family values. They don't teach common sense. They like to teach fear tactics and, God's watching, don't sin. And I mean, things that, as any practicing religious person knows, I mean, you tell your kids God's always watching, but you don't behave like that. You don't really believe that, or you wouldn't do the things that you do or say the things that you do. Mm-hmm. So, you put up this like fake bullshit, surveillance on your kids. You don't live that life. So what are your kids going to learn? Commandments are only as strong as until you don't break it. I mean, that's really all it is. This all this stuff is nonsensical. The focus should be on being a good person. It should be on, instead of worrying about who's having abortions or what gay people are getting married, get your own house in order. Make sure that you got all your shit straight before you go worrying about other people. That's our problem, is we're all so worried about what everybody else is doing. We're worried about what everybody else has. Yeah, Frank just chimed into the comments. The idea of Santa Claus, I think, just sets kids up for that totalitarian like serfdom. You're being watched. If you don't behave, you will be punished. This dude's watching. He's writing this stuff down, and you're on notice.
And he's going to tell you if you're naughty or nice.
You're literally teaching children what it's like to live in a prison camp.
It's that part, and then I've also been seeing everywhere something that I haven't really thought about, and I don't really know how I feel about it, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. A lot of parents have been saying, save the bigger stuff that you get your kids and say that you gave it to them, not Santa. Take the credit for it. Take the credit for the bigger stuff, because when your kid goes into class and they say, oh, I got all this stuff, and then some other kid says, oh, well, I only got a pair of socks, they're going to be like, why didn't Santa like me as much? Or was I bad this year? So I think that that's also kind of just a weird concept where it's kind of just like, all right, well, if we have to do this now and we have to monitor what's from Santa and it's like, why are we even doing this anymore?
Did you know there was a strong backlash to that idea?
Yes, I think it's the dumbest idea in the world.
Stupid liberal idea that just because you can't afford shit, why can't Santa bring my kid an iPad?
Joe.
I mean, that's literally the argument. Is why can't this fucking imaginary person that doesn't exist, why can't he bring my kid an iPad? Well, I'll tell you why. Number one, that's horseshit. You're lying to your kid. And let me tell you something. And I think this is hilarious. But when your kid's like 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe older if he's not too popular, somebody's going to tell him Santa Claus isn't real.
And then you're going
to in school. And your kid's going to be like, my mom and dad said he is. And they're going to be like, boop. They're going to punch him in the face. They're going to give him a little wedgie, a little wet willy. They're all going to laugh at him. And then he's going to know that you're a fucking liar. That's the first time somebody asked for a character witness about your mom and dad. The first thing someone's going to tell, your parents are liars. And they made you look a fool. You're not doing your kids any favors by telling them things that are not true. It doesn't do anybody any good.
I was about to say, maybe their gift from Santa this year can be the knowledge. They're just smarter than everybody else in their class. This is something that that nobody else knows. Everybody else thinks that a secret ghost fat man with a beard is real. And you have the power. He's not real. You're smarter than them. You can hold it over them. You can ruin their day. That can be like your gift to your kindergartner. Like, here's this. You can tell all of your friends that Santa aren't real.
Oh, I can't wait to be able to tell my son. And I think it might be this year, like when he goes to first grade, like it's over. If anybody's going to be in my son's first grade class, it's over for Christmas. Like Santa Claus is over. Like it's over.
I hate when I hear Jesus is the reason for the season or Santa is the reason for the season. The whole point of the holiday season is giving and receiving. It's like a reciprocal situation. I care about you and I got you a gift. And it's the holidays, so we're going to spend time together because you're my family or you're my close friend or whatever the case may be. Why do you need a fat bearded guy from the North Pole? Where does that even fit in? Like, where does that make any sense?
And it's like, if we're going to tell our kids that Santa's real, like, are we going to just like, is the abominable snowman real too?
Well, that's
is the claymation guy at the beginning of the Rudolph real? The snowman, is that real? Like, are you telling me, is everything real now? Why does everything have to be real? Why does everything have to be an experience?
I don't know. I don't know. I look at it as this way. I'm not going to stop telling, until I can figure out a good time with my significant other to tell him that, hey, Christmas is, fake. I'll just let it ride out. But as far as like the gifts and shit, Santa's going to get him whatever Santa gives him, whatever I write Santa on, whatever I write my name on, if that at all. I don't have a big enough ego, and I don't feel bad for fucking kids that like don't get a lot of shit for Christmas, because guess what? I didn't get the fucking Jordans and all that other shit when I wanted to growing up. And guess what my parents told me? Yes, we could fucking get that for you. But guess what? You wouldn't have this to eat. You wouldn't have that to eat. You wouldn't be able to go on these fucking trips. You wouldn't be able to do this. You wouldn't be able to do that. Guess what? These kids that had the fucking Jordans and everything else that I definitely wanted, and the fucking jerseys and all that other shit, they had that. They could afford that. They had the PlayStations. They had all that extra shit when it came down to fucking holidays. I don't give a fuck whether they're in Section 8 housing or not, or whatever the fuck their living condition was, white, black, and all that. Because guess what? There's a fucking kid named God, all these fucking white boys named Chris in my fucking life. What the fuck is up with this? Another white boy named Chris. He lived in the projects, but guess what? Chris had he had all the shoes, he had all the systems, he had all the dope stuff, the gold chains and everything else, and they still lived in Section 8 housing. And he was white. So like, miss me with that BS. Like, my kids are gonna get whatever they get. If they get some dope shit this year, they get some dope shit. If your kids get some dope shit, guess what? That's the life lesson. And I think that's another thing that we're missing. When are we gonna be honest with our children and honest with ourselves that in life, guess what? You're gonna grow up and you're gonna see a Bugatti or something that you don't want, or you're gonna see this big old house. That life is not fair. You're either gonna have to figure out how to get it, or just go on about your life and be happy with whatever you have. When do we start being honest with our kids that way instead of being worried about what the other person has? Like, get out of like. I'll save that for
you are exactly right. The party of personal responsibility wants to hang all their sins on Jesus. They want to credit Santa Claus with bringing their. What? I don't even understand that. Like, what are we teaching people?
But meanwhile, we got to pull up our bootstraps and suck it up.
Like, well, sure, but again, it's like you need to respect my belief in this nonsense. No, I don't. Here's ultimately my major point. We got to get on the same page, man. Like, as a society, like what the facts are, how facts are come to be, what makes a fact, what is evidence. What is a theory? These are things that, on a daily basis, I find it, and I find America and Americans just shockingly ignorant.
Well, that kind of brings me to what I kind of wanted to wrap up the show with. I kind of wanted to just end off with what we wanted to keep and what we wanted to leave in 2020. And I just wanted to start off by, I want to leave alternative facts in 2020. Let's be done with that. We have too much access to real information and real facts where we don't need to be doing all that.
It takes 2.2 seconds to Google something.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's another one. Don't go on Facebook and ask people shit you can Google. Do it yourself.
Literally.
Just go to google.com and type that stupid thing that you wrote on. Just write it into there. That way we don't have to know how stupid you are.
And then, and not only that, but read. Don't just Google it and read the headline. Actually, read the article. Take some time, analyze it, process that shit. Maybe even go back to a couple other sentences that you read, reread that shit again, and then make a conscious, like quote on it or something, a talking point on it. I'm still trying to think of my other shit. I don't know. That was a good question of what we wanted to leave behind. I'm still in 2020. So,
Joe, what about you?
Didn't I already say? Didn't I just go? I think
I was. Oh my God, I literally just said mine, but it's okay.
Well, listen, I think this in every year, religion's got to go. I think it is the poison of society. It's time for people to embrace humanity and embrace each other. We come from, we all living Homo sapiens come from literally a handful of what was originally Africans. That's what we've all descended from. There's Adam and Eve. If there was really just two people, they would be black. Black, about 6 feet tall and about 150 pounds, very trim, extremely athletic. Yeah, Rob, isn't that some crazy shit? That turned into this. I don't know what happened.
Well, because y'all went north. You went north,
Yeah, listen, had a lot to do with living in caves. See? Left the savannah, they got up north, and the Ice Age actually wasn't quite over yet. They found out shortly after settling in Europe. But yeah, look, we descend from common ancestors in Africa from about 50,000 years ago. So get over yourselves. Your religious beliefs are based primarily on where you're born. If you're born in America, you're probably a Christian. If you're born in Europe, probably a Christian. If you're born
Ireland, you're Catholic.
Yeah, listen, if you're born down in Indonesia, you're probably a Muslim. If you're born in India, you're a Hindu. I mean, that nonsensical, superstitious belief is not found. I mean, that's the other thing. You know, I'm suddenly more and more interested in my genetics and finding out what my genetics are. I'm actually reading a book called The Brief History of Everyone Who Ever Lived by Adam Rutherford. It's a really fantastic book. Goes into detail on the Human Genome Project. Nice. They are making, I mean, you know that there were now confirmed 4, and they believe maybe 5 different humanoid species that originally evolved from the great ape. I mean, they've got fossils dating back now, humans 5.6 million years ago. We're relearning everything about our history, about the start of the cosmos. I mean, it's everything about this is so much more fascinating than what you're going to find in those religious books. And the cool part is it's scientifically provable. It's fascinating. We live in an amazing, amazing world, and we should be enjoying every minute of it together because we don't have long. And I hate to tell people this. This is it.
You say it all the time. This is it.
This is it. Enjoy the ride, because when your eyes shut one last time, you're not seeing your old dog and your grandma. It's not happening.
All right, Joe, you're gonna be kicking yourself when I go before you, and then 10 years later. Hey, Joe, what's happening?
Wait, I got it. My keep list. On my keep list, here's what we're keeping for 2021. Donald Trump's bluntness.
Boy.
Okay.
The bluntness. I'm just going to say it like it is.
I don't need to be said that I'm going to be grabbed anywhere anymore in 2021.
Unlike Trump, I'll only be blunt about things that I'm certain are factual information.
Oh, your bluntness? I thought you meant Trump's bluntness. Like,
I'm saying the bluntness of Donald Trump can stay. We can still be very blunt about things. But again, you have to know what you're talking about, and you have to be right. If you're Dr. Fauci, be blunt. If you're Donald Trump, don't.
See, okay. And I think I kind of piggyback off of you. I want to keep the same energy, that same motivational energy on both sides, that same active energy that we had in 2020 to make some kind of change, but dump your ego so that energy doesn't overpower logical fucking thinking and just, common sense, right? So keep that same progressive energy, not even progressive if you're conservative, but keep that same energy to make a change, because it's not just one way or the other way, it's a certain way. So if you're going to actually complain about certain things, if you're going to sit there, matter of fact, I'll put it this way, if you're going to complain about Trump, make sure you keep that same energy with Biden. If you're complaining about Biden, keep that same energy onto how you can better improve the government and stop just complaining, right? Check your ego at the door and actually, listen, be a fucking listener. Like, use your ears on whatever side you fall on the spectrum. But yeah, so keep that same energy and dump your ego.
Let's keep democracy in 2021. And that'll be big tomorrow when Georgians go out and vote. And I gotta tell you this. I mean, if you told me 5 years ago, I'd be like, vote for the Senate to go Democrat, I'd have told you were out of your mind. But here we are, and here I am asking anybody watching this who lives in Georgia, no matter what your party is, to please cast your vote for the Democrats so we can get this country back on. The idea that the Democrats, the liberals, are going to get this country back on track, that's something I struggle with every day.
Scary.
But there's only one party that's taking this thing serious, and it's the one headed by Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm. With a black woman right next to him.
True.
And a black woman right next to him. But that's where we're at as we head into 2021. The damage done by Trump and the Republicans is going to take some time to get over. And Georgia, you could certainly do us a solid if you could send those 2 Democrats to Washington.
Yeah, especially make up for those that decide to vote for Trump. This is your makeup season.
Absolutely. So everybody keep your fingers crossed. But in the meantime, if you're bored tonight and the next day, if you don't know what's going on, if you need to take a little break from the live election updates, you can come over to iTunes, Spotify, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. You can watch Divided We Stand, and I'll piss you off shortly. That's on right after this at 9:00. So thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.